which leads to our next thought leadership spotlight, which wins the award for the most intriguing title of the day. It's the phenomenon of incongruence in candidate expectations. Our speaker will be Vijay Swaminathan. He is co-founder and CEO at Draup, which is an AI-driven decision-making platform for corporate leaders in sales and talent domains. As we know, recruitment has become a challenge across the globe. By Draup's estimates, there is a 4.5 million gap between supply and demand in tech jobs. Now recruiters can use the power of big data and having conversations about this situation. For example, while there is growth in tech, there is a layer of talent that has not seen much career progression. Some 38% of tech professionals in big tech companies in the areas of New York City, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Dallas has been stagnant in the same position for more than 3 years. This session is all about converting and aligning such insights for recruiters to make them winners in the war for talent. So I'll turn it over to Vijay now. Vijay, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to present to the team. As we all know, recruitment has become such a critical competitive advantage for companies. And the pandemic actually proved the importance of recruiting the right talent and also the importance of recruitment infrastructure. Now, one of the important things that big tech companies understood early on is the importance that the big tech companies pay for recruitment infrastructure is significantly different than what traditional enterprises would place. Like here, the technology companies, the likes of the FANGs and the near tech companies are called as technology companies. And right from the number of recruiters they have, when it compares with the other enterprise, traditional enterprises, there is significant difference. Now, we are also, through our research, we are also able to find out that tech companies are going after enterprises' recruitment infrastructure when they actually enter a city. For example, Apple recently going into RTP area, and the first thing that they're working on is to get all the top recruiters from enterprises and assemble a very powerful team. Now, this type of focus on recruitment has never been at its peak like this. Perhaps one of the, if you look at little back as to why this is, it's because intuitively people have started trusting technology more and more. And every company, whether it is a retail company or a mining company or a manufacturing company, competition for digital tech talent and near tech talent has just tremendously and exponentially increased. Our analysis shows that the supply-demand gap for tech and near tech, I use the term near tech to incorporate some of the digital roles, actually is about 4.47 million people. This is across the globe. And it is expected to grow to 8.2 million in just 2 to 3 years. And the number of unicorns that have been created, unicorn are the companies that is valued at about over $1 billion, is 250 just in the first 6 months of this year. And in this type of a complex environment, recruiters are facing very, very difficult environment. And I always tell the leaders whom I speak to, go give your recruiter a big hug, because they are thriving in, and they're trying to do the right thing in this complex environment. Now, when I had this opportunity to really look into, give this presentation, one of the things that we wanted to present is how do we kind of use this big data ecosystem and map out certain things that may be beneficial for recruiters. How do we take advantage of mining this complex data ecosystem and arriving at a scenario where it is extremely useful for the recruitment team. And we have a few points of views around that. So we called it as the building blocks for successful recruiting. And these are obviously, recruitment is a complex decision-making process, and our objective is to kind of bring in the big data perspective of how can you use external data, and whether it is getting ready for your uptake meeting with your business leaders, or whether it is understanding the candidate expectations, or how to navigate the post-interview process. There are multiple aspects in which the big data can come into the picture, and we hope to cover some elements of that. The objective is to give you a sense of a framework that would further enable you and empower you to go and win this battle for the war for talent. Now, the first thing I always say is, like, in our in the last 4 years of engagement, understanding, especially when it comes to technical talent, understanding the components of the offer and how big tech approaches, say, an SDE talent versus an enterprise companies, and also variations across locations, is very, very critical. So the reason I say that is, you have in your business planning meetings, I am consistently seeing that enterprises are underestimating what it costs to bring a software talent into the enterprise, into their ecosystem. Just yesterday, we had a meeting where some of the estimates are far lower than what the market is currently paying. And if you look at how big tech companies are offering software or technology talent, there's multiple components to it. There is obviously a median base pay, but many of them are competing on the 90th or 95th percentile pay. Then there is an annual bonus component. Then there is a sign-on bonus component, and you have restricted stock units, the RSUs, that is vest over a period of time. And then there is an year one vest, some stock options are given on top of that. So as you could see, depending upon the location, you are looking at a TC, the total comp package, of about 200 to 225,000 in tier 1 cities, and places where the RSUs are not common, a little lower than that. So understanding, and this is whether it is software development, or whether it is data science, or any of the digital stack, understanding these components of offer with respect to where the offer stands is really, really important. Otherwise, you would put your recruiters at a disadvantage if the market is at a different level and you are trying to get similar talent at a lower than expected budget. And this, one of the important component related to that is the addressable market size. In the uptake meetings, you would be using the terms through the collection of various talent intelligence tools. You may say that, there are X number of thousands of talent for a particular skill, for a particular role that is available. And but we actually have a different point of view that emerged over the years on addressable market opportunity. And the market opportunity is not, the entire market is not available, and it has got real relationship to the zone that you are playing. For example, if in a place like a Bay Area and you are trying to hire an SDE, you have a base pay of say 118,000 on top of the RSUs and other components, assuming there will be some additional components to that. A base pay of 118,000 only gets you to 50%, only gets you like half of the talent that is available in the market. And you having this type of a sensitivity analysis using the data really educates the business in a very powerful way to say that you obviously cannot set it up at the highest level, but you want to set it up, at least depending upon the locations, somewhere between 60 to 65% of the market, that addressable market that you can potentially go and target. The reason why that is important is you obviously, there will be some offers that not all enterprises can go near, but at the same time, you don't want to set it up too low where your efforts, the valuable time efforts of your recruitment team is not wasted. So this type of sensitivity analysis for the addressable market size and where it tapers off, where is that cumulative probability function hits, and really taking a call on how to set the right package details will be extremely useful for you. And another important component that we find very from a practical standpoint, there are, as you go through the recruitment process, you would really encounter multiple other peers, and handling those peers, understanding those peers and their strengths and as well as weakness to a certain extent is very, very important. For example, a Facebook is a very, very strong design house, is known for that. And companies like Apple, as many of you know, is known for overall innovation. And Google, obviously, and very well known for the algorithmic work they do. And all these near peers, we would have to map out what are they known for, and as well as what are some of the challenges. For example, one of the challenges that you would see is like many of these companies do not select the team that they are going, that the engineer is going to join more through a boot camp process. And that may be not a good thing for many people. And if you have a more transparent selection process or a more easier selection process, you may want to highlight that to the candidates in terms of the strengths that you offer. And another important similar related concept to that is really around understanding the big player within your market and at what rate they are ramping up. For example, here we have shown the pace at which companies, like in this case, Apple, that has grown at San Diego in the last just 3 years. And Apple, if you look at the mix of the tech workforce and the non-tech workforce, in June 18 to June 21, they have grown about 6.9 times their workforce in terms of how much workforce they are adding. And at the same time, if you look at their starting point, what we call as the infrastructure talent, the recruitment, human resources, and other functions, they start a little earlier on that, and then they are ramping up on that. If you look at this graph, the ramp of the infrastructure talent happened much before, and they're ramping up the technology talent. And Apple has even aggressive plans to hire in San Diego. There are a lot of dynamics when you start understanding the biggest player in the location. What are they offering? What are the challenges? And what are the opportunities that people have? At least you would know mentally how to benchmark your offer and what you are up against. And that is a very, very important component as part of your preparation leveraging the data. Now, one other component that Steve also touched this in his opening remark is the understanding that tech talent, or in general digital talent, is spreading to newer locations. And how can you use let's say you have a very, very flexible remote working options. How do we use and tap and find locations that were previously not something that you may not have looked at? One of the interesting thing that we notice is the pandemic has been a big, big boon for Middle America. So now we actually mapped out close to 20,000 plus resumes in terms of the very recent updates in the last 1 year, and see how many people have made location changes. And what we found is certain smaller cities, like not from a geography standpoint, existing tech talent and digital talent standpoint, the places like Indianapolis, places like Ames, Iowa, places like Nashville, Atlanta, Denver, Salt Lake City have gained lot more talent that which is moving from the bigger hubs of San Francisco, Seattle area. And this is very, very exciting for me personally, because in economic theory, when movement like this happens, it is always a good sign, because people around that around that ecosystem will interact with other folks, and more people will get in. For example, when few engineers from Apple went to Columbus, Georgia, they actually mentored another 20 plus students, and now they have a bigger ecosystem of talent. And this type of analysis is also useful through the lens of is the challenge, is the opportunity there uniformly across everyone in the company ecosystem. One interesting thing that we found is while the big tech is a big competition, it is not possible for everyone to get into that. And at the same time, unless you are doing that kind of algorithmic work, the tools have evolved so much that you may not need that much sophistication, whether it is in software development or in other, because today, even if you look at something like a Python developer, it is a lot easier to become a Python developer than even 5-6 years before, because the number of libraries and the automation, Python releases at least 100 plus libraries on a weekly basis. It is getting easier. And the other thing that is happening, which I want to highlight, the same important thing, there's a convergence of IT and software talent. That means if someone is doing application development 5-6 years back, now they are now potential talent to do higher end software development work. And that type of understanding these little aspects of where progressions are happening can be extremely useful. One other important component that you would also see is understanding the categories of companies. So let's say we say that there is a staff engineer in a place like, say, Toronto, and you have 5,000 plus people. Understanding and breaking it into large companies, smaller companies, adjacent to talent can actually take you to a potential opportunity for the future. That means you can actually work with, in one of the scenarios where we helped a banking company get some women Python developers, we basically said that the availability is less, but if you target nearby skills like such as R, which can scale into Python like in 3 months, then you have a phenomenal opportunity to bring in women Python developers. And that was a very successful experiment, which means that we have to move away from a role-based sourcing and start looking at skill-based sourcing. Which skills are more prevalent across let's say this is your target location dashboard. And this is, I know I've given a tech example, but it is also true for whether it is digital marketing or a financial analyst type of skill. let's break it down into skills and develop a heat map around the availability of those skills in a very comprehensive way. And along that, we can also have the top companies by categories, whether it is large tech companies, IT services companies, startups, and other SMBs. Having that type of map will narrow down your effort in a significant way. I know I'm coming on time, but one last slide. In general, how from a candidate engagement standpoint, when we did a sentimental analysis across public reviews, what our heat map showed is recruiting experience. Obviously, you will know all this, but recruiting experience is considered as a very, very big thing. In other words, the great work that you are doing in bringing teams into the enterprise is super significant and super valuable for a company to be continuously competitive. And some of the things that companies say that the candidates say is like taking care and giving some feedback on organizing resumes. That came out very high in our heat map analysis. We can share with you a more detailed study around what candidates really value in a recruiter, and also making sure that the recruiters adopt technology in terms of follow-up is always celebrated really, really high. And also the familiarity with the job, and also familiarity with how the team assignment happens, what can they, the whole process post-hiring, what happens from the point of hiring, and how a view into their career mapping is also viewed as an excellent point of view for a strong point for a recruiter. There are many such components, but hopefully you found how to leverage the data and prepare for the toughest recruiting experience and win in this difficult labor market useful. And if there are any questions, if you have time to take questions, I can take one, or you can reach out to us.
Thanks, Vijay. I think we have to leave it there because we've got our next panel lined up, but I want to thank you. That felt like a real tour of the landscape, complete with numbers. It was really great to have all those metrics to paint such an accurate picture and really to clarify the challenges and opportunities to come. So thank you, Vijay. Appreciated having you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.